Okay, hello everyone. My name is Bin Chen. I'm a program manager on the Office 365 information protection team. Today, together with my coworker Charu here, we're going to talk about monitor and investigate actions taken on your data and the user with alerts, insights, and the reports. So why don't you introduce yourself, Charu?
Hi there, good morning. My name is Charu. I'm a program manager in the Office 365 information protection team as well.
She didn't turn on the mic, so she just gave a very brief introduction about herself. She's also a program manager on the Office Information Protection team. So, okay, let's get started here. I want to start this presentation by looking into the importance of the visibility into data. First of all, the volume of data is exploding. The volume is increasing exponentially. In fact, every 18 months, the amount of data in an organization's environment doubles. The statistics shows that 2.5 billion activity logs are being generated every day in Office 365, excuse me. And the cyber attacks are also surging. You must be very familiar with the recent buzzwords like Petya and WannaCry, these ransomware that are very well known. And also the most recent Equifax data breaches, which impacted like 100 million US people, I guess, right? These impacts are so dramatic. In fact, 20% of the small to mid-sized business have been cybercrime targets, but most of them actually don't know that yet. And by 2019, it's predicted that the cost of data breach is going to become 2.1 trillion US dollars globally. And the last point here is the insider threat, the internal threat are also warming your organization, which is really hard to detect. An employee like Edward Snowden in your organization can cause, very dramatic reputation damage to your organization once they leave the organization. As well as people like vendors, interns, and the temporary employees, these people, they might not mean bad intentionally, but they can do something sketchy that looks very suspicious because they're not familiar with the policies in the organization. So as a security admin, it's very important for you to stay on top of your data, to get visibility into your data so that you can stay on top of your security posture of your organization. Let's take a look at how the data ties into various aspects of the security and compliance workflow. An admin comes into the Security and Compliance Center in Office 365 today to do three main tasks based on our observation. First of all, they do monitoring, as well as they do investigation and take some actions in the Security and Compliance Center. For monitoring, as I said previously, we have 2.5 billion activity logs generated every single day. Are all these information helpful? Are they useful? Probably not, right? As an admin, you only care about certain things that are important to you. For example, something can indicate a risky behavior among your employees, or can indicate a data breach, or something that's anomalous that you can identify from your organization. That's why we have the alert natively built in Security and Compliance Center so that you can use that to stay on top of your data and look at the tip of the iceberg of your data. Also, understanding the status, the health trends of your organization is also very important. That's why we have these built-in reports in the Security and Compliance Center. For instance, when you deploy a DLP policy or ATP policy, you want to know whether a user is sharing any sensitive information outside the organization that violates the DLP policy, or whether there's any external threats like malware is targeting at your organization. You can use a report to learn that. And we also use our intelligence to apply analysis on top of the data that are in Office 365 so that we can drive insights that are unique to you, that you won't be able to figure out just by looking at the data yourself in the reports. Therefore, we can help you prioritize your task and improve your efficiency at your work. And for investigation, as an admin, I also want to look into the details and the very deep nuance into my data. So that's why we have this search and exploration experience in the Security and Compliance Center, so that you can slice and dice your data to look for the exact information that you're looking for. And last, based on the monitoring and the investigation results, admin comes into Security and Compliance Center to take actions. They do response to certain incidents by taking remediation actions, or they can apply more policies and configurations to make sure their organization is well protected. And in the presentation today, we're going to show you some demos later to illustrate how we are making these elements in the Security and Compliance Center workflow cohesive and interconnected so that we can create a seamless experience for security admins, for compliance admins, as well as global admins to do their job. So just to re-emphasize our focus here, our goal is to use intelligence to help admin gain visibility into the data across Office 365 for security and compliance purposes. Therefore, we can help improve your work efficiency. This slide shows you the infrastructure in terms of our data platform and our applications. At the bottom layer, we collect unified data across Office 365, including user and admin activities, which is also known as the audit log. We also have the mail data, which include all the email that your user received and sent, as well as the classification data, which indicates whether a document has sensitive information. We also say whether email has sensitive information or whether a user is an executive or is an admin in your organization who has higher clearance to your data or privilege. We also have the threat data, which indicates whether a document, whether an email contains malware or malicious link. And in the middle layer, we have the platform. The auditing pipeline sits on top of the user and admin activities and brings the activity API as well as the audit log search UX. And the security and compliance data intelligence platform looks across various types of data in Office 365. And in the platform, we do some intelligent things like data enrichment, correlations, as well as aggregations, so that it can power these intelligent and beautiful-looking applications on the top layer, like Explore, alerts, insights, as well as reports. And most of these experiences are delivered in the Security and Compliance Center. So what we're going to look at today in terms of the agenda is we'll go through the applications that we just talked about in terms of auditing, alerts, explorers for investigation. And then I'm going to do a demo to show you how the alerts and the investigation works cohesively in experience-wise. And then Charu will give you a deep look into the insights and the reports, as well as a very interesting demo. So first, let's look at auditing. From our perspective, auditing is both a monitoring tool as well as an investigation tool. It sits on top of the user and admin activity, as we previously saw, and it powers the API as well as search UX. Just some statistics to show you how broad our auditing platform is today. It collects 2.5 billion events every day, as I said at the beginning of this presentation. It also has 19 million active users searching every single month. And it collects 6,000 unique, distinct events. And it's also broad in terms of it collects data from various different workloads from Office 365, including Exchange, SharePoint, Azure Active Directory, as well as Security and Compliance Center itself. Now let's take a closer look at what are the data that are being audited. What are the workloads? First of all, as we previously already seen in the last Ignite, as well as you can see it on the document online, we have Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, Security and Compliance Center, Azure Active Directory, Power BI. These are the ones that we have shown before last Ignite as well. But for this year, we're including a lot more, including Microsoft Teams, which we audit the admin and end user activities. We have Yammer, end user activities, as well as Sway. We onboarded Sway with the admin and end user activity as well. And the last one here is the customer lockbox. So we also audit the data center admin elevation requests that are made in the data center whenever a Microsoft employee needs elevated access to go into the data center to do something like investigation or remediation. These kind of requests are also logged. So I want to also mention that there are some workloads that are still in progress in terms of integration, like Dynamics 3, my bad. In terms of Dynamics 365 and the Microsoft Flow. This one shows you how the infrastructure of auditing platform looks like. First of all, on the left side, we have the data from various services from in the Office 365 environment. And all the data goes into the Azure microservice, which hosts the auditing pipeline. In that pipeline, we have the fast channel as well as the slow channel. The fast channel is near real time, which we give you an assurance of less than 5-minute delay. In the slow channel, we assure that you have a 24-hour delay. And the reason that we have two different channels is sometimes in the fast channel, the logs can be missed due to certain reasons. Therefore, we can use the slow channel to make sure all the logs are captured, and we can ensure there's a 99.99% completion rate of the data that you get. And all the data goes into a shredder, which means we reform these data into per tenant format so that it can be stored into a per tenant storage so that you can only search your own audit log in your own organization. The logs are saved in the Office 365 substrate, which are also queried by the Security and Compliance Center audit log search UX, as well as you can also use the PowerShell, the Search Unified Audit Log commandlet to get these logs. Another thing I want to mention here is from the Azure microservice, we also hosted the Activity API, which 600 partners has integrated with this API, including the first-party applications like Microsoft Operation Management Suite, as well as the MCAS, which is the Microsoft Cloud App Security. So next, let's look into the alerts. Alerts is a monitoring tool you can use in the Security and Compliance Center. And different from the auditing, it looks at more data. It looks at the data across Office 365 in terms of different types of data that we described previously. So let's look at how the infrastructure works here. It has the unified data across Office 365, including audit data, mail flow, threat data, classifications, and all the data goes to the near real-time pipeline so that we ensure that alerts are near real-time. In the intelligence service, we do data enrichment, and then we put that data in the data store. Therefore, we can do alert policy evaluation to evaluate whether the data that are ingested triggers an alert. If the alert requirement is met, we create an alert in the alert store, which can be queried from the Security and Compliance Center using the View and the Manage Alert UI through the REST API. And we also have the Manage Alert policy so that you can create and edit custom alert policy in the Security and Compliance Center. Your edits and the creation get saved into a policy store, which also feed back into the alert policy evaluation. And I have to mention here is also alert can be also notified as an email notification to the admins. And the email notification will have a link that you can click back into the Security and Compliance Center. So what alerts are available today in the Security and Compliance Center? Last year, we introduced first time the alert platform in Office 365 for security and compliance. And in March this year, we shipped it with 3 on-by-default alerts, including the elevation of Exchange admin privilege, the malware campaign detected after delivery, the malware campaign detected and blocked, the unusual external user file activity, which is the favorite one because customers constantly come back and look at that one from our observation, and the unusual volume of external file sharing, as well as unusual volume of file deletion. So this year, we come with a few more system default alerts on by default, including the creation of forwarding and redirect rule, which the reason that we create this one on by default is because we are seeing a lot of customers coming into the Security and Compliance Center and then create custom alert on this specific signal. And this is critical because this can be a source of either data breach or account compromise, like impersonation. We also have unusual increase in email reported as phish or junk. So previously, the user today is able to submit an email and report it as a phish or junk email, or even not junk email, so that Microsoft can use that to improve our machine learning technology for spam detection. However, admin doesn't used to have any visibility into that data. Now we are bringing this into Security and Compliance Center so that admin can look at this data, do monitoring, as well as investigation. We also have malware detected in SharePoint and OneDrive. So last year, we only had the malware detection alert on the Exchange. So we are now expanding it to SharePoint. So anything like a malware in a document will also be detected and alert. We also have the user click on malicious link in email. So we're expanding our coverage into the phishing attacks. As an admin, if these doesn't meet your requirement, you also have the option to create your custom alerts against the user activities, the malware and the phishing attacks, as well as the submission activities, and then all the emails that you can use. Here's a step-by-step introduction of how you can create a custom alert. Maybe, I don't know if you are able to see the image on the right clearly. So basically, there are 3 steps that you can do to create a custom alert. First of all, you select the activity you want to monitor. Like, for example, you can say, I want to monitor creation of forwarding rule or a mailbox delegation activity. Then you can select a condition to apply more filters to this activity, like the user and the recipient of the email, or the site, the document URL that's being shared. And then the last thing is you need to select the threshold. You can choose that you won't get an alert every single time the conditions is matched. Or you can choose to you can set up a threshold. Or the most intelligent option here is you can let Microsoft track a baseline. And whenever the volume becomes anomalous, we send you an alert. So Then the third thing here is the Explore. Explore is an investigation tool for you to investigate threats and the risk in your organization. It looks into the same data, uses the same platform engine, but this is an investigation tool rather than a monitoring tool. So what is an Explore? As you can see, the beautiful UI on the right, it's an investigation tool with enhanced visualization, filtering capability, as well as the pivots. It expands across email, document, and user activities so that you can pretty much investigate various different types of threats in your organization. And it also has the integrated experience with the alerts, the reports, as well as it has remediation actions built in within that exploration experience. So the infrastructure-wise, it has the same data, the same pipeline, which is also near real-time, so that you can do near real-time investigation. In the intelligence service, once the data gets into the data store, we use the Elasticsearch to power the Explore UX in the Security and Compliance Center. And the other capability I'm really excited about and I want to share with you is that you can create a saved query based on the investigation query you have already built up. So you can save it and come back to it rather than build it up again. And the saved query is saved into the saved query store. And the other capability of the saved query is that you can attach an alert or a report to it. So based on your saved query, I can say if the saved query matched again, I get an alert. Or I can have a threshold or a baseline. As well as you can say, I want to get a report on this saved query every single week, so that you can click back into the Security and Compliance Center and look at it. Here shows you what are the data that are available in Explore that you can do investigation on. You can do investigation on the email data. Last year, with the threat intelligence, we shipped the malware view as well as the all email view. But now we're expanding this investigation experience into so many various different types of data, including the submission, the reported phishing or spam emails, as well as the documents, including the malware detected in the SharePoint and OneDrive, the classification of the document, as well as some activities like the risky activity, including creating a forwarding rule, a mailbox delegation, elevation of privilege, or for risky content activity, you have the sharing activities, which most admin are really concerned about. So next, I'm going to show you a demo of how the alert and investigation experience works together. So the first example I'm going to use here is what we just talked about. Admin now has the visibility into the reported email by the user as phish and spam. Let's look at how that experience looks like. As you can see here, what you're looking at is, as a security admin, I got this email in my mailbox saying there's an unusual increase in the message that are reported as either phish or junk. I'm going to click on this investigation button, which takes me to the Security and Compliance Center with all the details about this alert. Here, I have the details about the alert as well as some triage options, like I can resolve this alert and I can change the status of this alert or suppress it. But at this point, I want to understand what is really going on. I want to do some investigations here. I'm going to click on this view activity in Explore, which takes me to the Explore view, which is the investigation experience we just talked about. Here, you're looking at the submission view. It's showing me all the submitted email by my users, submitted as phish, junk, or not junk. On the bottom, I have all these details about email that I can click on each of them. I can click on these subjects to learn more about detail about these emails. For example, this email is submitted by Lawrence as a phishing email, and the sender is no reply at some domain.com, as well as I can know where this email is coming from in terms of the IP address it's delivered to my user, as well as here, the most interesting thing is it's telling me that this email contains a URL. This URL is probably a malicious URL because that's why the user reported it as a phishing attack. So now I want to understand what's the impact of this thing. I'm going to click on this link here, which takes me to the email view scoped down to this specific URL. But in order to find the similar emails that belongs to the same attacker, I'm going to copy the domain and the path because attackers usually use the same domain and the path for their attacks, but they will use different IDs when they send different emails to various different recipients. So I'm going to scope down the data to look at these specific domain and the path and remove the original filter. Now I'm looking at all the emails that are sent to my organization with this similar URL that is malicious. From the view here, I'm able to tell most of these attacks are blocked, whereas some of these are actually delivered to my user. And among those delivered emails, I'm able to tell whether my user clicked on them. Some of these clicks are being allowed versus some of them are being blocked. For those allowed ones, it's very dangerous because if the user is not careful enough, they might have already given their credential, which caused their account to be compromised. And next, I'm going to show you how flexible this view is in terms of slicing and dicing your data and find the information that you're looking for. Next question I'm going to ask is where this attack is coming from. So as you can see, there are various different pivots I can apply on this data so that I can, for example, I'm going to look at the sender IP here. It's telling me that all these attacks containing this specific URL is coming from a single IP address, which is originated from somewhere in California, as you can see in the map here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to the email view and click on the IP address here. It tells me all the details about this IP address in terms of where it is. It's telling me it's in Sunnyvale in California, and it's carried by Proofpoint. So at this moment, I have a brief understanding about the impact as well as where this attack is coming from. So I'm going to take some actions to respond to that. I can click here in order to block the sender IP so that my users won't get any malicious email from this IP address anymore. I can select all these emails and add them to the incident so that I can delete them from my user's mailbox. As well as I can select the URL here and block the clicks on these URL. So what we just looked at is an example of an external threat. But what about internal threats, like an intern creating a mailbox forwarding rule, forwarding all his mail outside the organization? Let me show you what that experience looked like. So similarly here, I also have another alert, which is telling me that someone in my organization created a forwarding and redirect rule. This is the system default alert that I just introduced previously. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on View Activity List and learn more detail about why this alert is being triggered. Here, I'm able to see this activity log triggered by this user. And I can click on this user. It's telling me that the information about this user in terms of what is his recent activity are and what are the recent alerts that has been triggered by this user. And there are other options that I can search audit log on this user into the full audit log experience. But from this, I'm able to know this user is actually an intern that has recently just joined my organization. And the next thing, I'm going to click on the activity here to look at more detail about this specific log. In the detail, I'm able to tell this user is forwarding all his email into external Gmail account, which is his personal Gmail account. Maybe he liked the Gmail UI a little bit better, which I don't really understand. But this is, as an admin, I know this is generally a bad practice. So I want to prevent this from happening. What I can do here is I can click on this notify user, which will bring up the email client with the alert information pre-populated, so that I can confirm with the user, is this something that you're intentionally doing, as well as could you remove this rule, because this is against the policy. In order to learn more about these activities, as well as if I want to do more investigations to understand whether there are any other similar things that are happening in my organization, I can click on this View Activities in Explore. So here you're looking at the risky user activity view, which is different from the views that you're looking at previously in the previous demo. And as you can see, there are a list of a lot of different data that you can do investigation on. But here you're looking at the risky activity scoped down specifically to the redirect and forwarding rule. On the bottom here, as you can see, there are two activities like that happened during past weeks. The first one here is essentially the one we looked at in the alert, but the second one here is interesting, which shows me that this person is redirecting his mail from someone at redfin.com to his hotmail.com. So this is probably legitimate because he's probably buying some real estate property. And also, I have the capability to say, to apply more filters to look at various different risky activity data, as well as I can select various different conditions here in terms of who are the users, and one of the interesting concepts that we are bringing into this monitoring and the investigation experience is that the user classification, so that we can say if the user is an executive or is an admin, we want to be a little bit different, be more restrictive, for example. So as you can see, in these two demos, what I illustrated is what we are trying to illustrate using this demo is to show you how we are connecting these various experiences together so that we can create a seamless experience for admins' daily work, and in order to improve admins' work efficiency. So next, I'm going to invite Charu to give you more details about insights and the reports, as well as give you an awesome demo. How do you guys feel so far before they got ready? Do you like what you see? Interesting?
You just switch with them? Okay.
Okay. Welcome, Charu.
Thank you, Binyan. Okay, I suppose you guys can hear me now? Awesome. Okay, so as Binyan said, we'll move on to talk about some of the other investments, enhancements and investments we're doing in the Office 365 information protection, investigative and monitoring workflows in reports and insights. But before I dive into that, I want to take a moment to refresh some of the themes that Binyan talked about earlier today, and also our directors touched on our keynote yesterday. So our focus areas in information protection are empowering cloud-powered insights for our admins and administrators, helping our admins and organizations be efficient, thus reducing total cost of ownership, and also extending protection to all of Office 365 and beyond Office 365. If you attended the keynote earlier this week, you heard Satya talk about the intelligent cloud. And in the rest of the session and the rest of the demo, we're going to share with you how we are leveraging the power of the intelligent cloud to help our customers be more productive and also secure their organizations in an effective way. So we know our admins usually wear multiple hats, play a lot of different roles in their organization, and also handle lots of data on an ongoing basis. It's also extremely critical for them to be able to process this multitude of data, tease out the abnormal from the normal, identify risks, and mitigate them all along while protecting their organization and keeping it safe. And with our insights and insights-powered reports, we want to do exactly that. We want our help our admins do exactly that. So essentially, we want you to be able to detect, respond, and protect when it matters. So we've heard a lot of talk about insights in this session and earlier. So what are insights? We'll look into these. Insights are cloud-powered intelligence that's basically going to correlate signals from the broad range of data that your organization has, identify, prioritize, and highlight the problem areas that we think you should go look at first as administrators of your organization. Not only do these insights provide these nuggets of intelligence, they're also going to tell you and recommend actions and mitigations that you need to go take to resolve risks right away. They will also provide for an interconnected and enriched investigative experience by recommending other flows in the security and compliance center, such as the Explorer that you looked at, to go continue your investigative and troubleshooting process as well. So all in all, insights are going to help you identify rule configuration drifts, policy configuration, or other configuration drifts that you need to go put in place, or other user or content restrictions you need to go put in place to continue being effective in what you do. What are some of the types of insights we've been working on so far? So we have insights on policy violation trends and triggers that cause them, insights on spam and malware volumes and sources both within, inside, and outside the organization, unusual user activity or content activity and triggers on those activities, and last but not the least, mail flow optics and TLS protection insights for your tenant. What are some of the interfaces these insights are going to be surfaced in? So our out-of-box, the insights are going to power our out-of-box reports in the Security and Compliance Center, the mail flow dashboard, and the security dashboard. Obviously, this is just the tip of the iceberg. As we continue investing and enhancing in this, you'll see a lot more of these coming up. Let me switch gears and talk about reports a little bit. So the out-of-box reports in the Security and Compliance Center, from the early versions of the Information Protection Service, they've been a staple of the service. Now, what we are doing new now is, in addition to enriching the data and experience of these reports, we are actually moving towards the Office 365 Security and Compliance Center being the home for these reports. The reports dashboard provides you with a single visibility point and a single discoverability point for all of these reports. Now, the out-of-box reports and reports dashboard are already generally available in the Security and Compliance Center for everybody to consume and use. We'll quickly go through some of the reports that we have. We have reports on overall mail flow trends and traffic types, and like good mail and bad mail that come into your organization, reports that educate you on that. We have reports on malware that give you trends of malware that have been detected in your organization and top types of malware that have been detected. We have spam reports that give you information and details about what spam was detected based on what filtering type. Spoof reports that help you, again, give you a trend of spoof where the sender identity has possibly been spoofed. One of our most prominent features, advanced threat protection. In this space, we have reports on message disposition that, and the verdicts that ATP applied, and also file types that ATP detected. And we also have overview protection reports that gives you an overall view of the security status of your tenant. We have TLP policy trends reports, and also the user actions taken on those policy matches, such as either false positive or overrides. And we're also working on a DLP incident report, data loss prevention incident report, that's going to give you an aggregated incident view for all the DLP policy matches in your organization, so you don't have to go determine that, and we aggregate and provide that data for you. Moving on. So scheduling has been one of our very popular features in our report canvas. What this allows you to do is automate the report creation process and have this delivered to your inbox on your frequency so that you have the information when you, as admins, you have the information when you need it. Now what's new is that with our move to the Security and Compliance Center, we are making sure that all our reports consistently have the scheduling and the request report options, which was not the case earlier. Also, the scheduling and the management and the download dashboards let you edit and manage your schedules that you've created and configured in case you wanted to go customize them later. And also the download dashboard lets you download both scheduled reports and your custom report requests from a single place. Now, a couple of key things I want to call out here. The download option for scheduled reports, this is a new capability that we are introducing. This did not exist before. We are also going to be adding PDF support for our download scheduled reports so that you can persist and view and consume these reports in PDF format along with the CSV formats that you're used to so far. Moving on, my favorite part of this whole stack, the insights-driven smart reports. Essentially, we talked about insights so far, you heard about it. What we're going to do is we're going to take these insights and we're going to fuel our out-of-box reports with these insights so that when you go into reports, when you consume them, you continue receiving the base data that the reports have, but you also have these additional nuggets of intelligence that's going to tell you exactly what to go look at and go take actions on. And as I talked about, it's also going to provide you with interconnectivity to different explorers, the contextual interconnectivity to explorers, and other reports in the Security and Compliance Center. We are also introducing the Security and Compliance Digest, which is going to be a regular notification to the admins about the overall state of the health of the organization, so you have that information at your fingertips and you don't have to go look for it. We talked about this, so there's a snapshot over there. Okay, just a couple of slides before we move to the demos. So overall, like we talked about so far, from a data platform perspective, we have a common data fabric that we leverage, and we have a common service, the intelligence service in between that fuels our reports and insights. So on the left there, you see a lot of our unified data pieces, such as audit data, mail document data, threat and compliance data, which is processed by our data pipeline for aggregation, processing, deduping, mapping, so on and so forth, persisted in our platform, which is then available for our customers and admins to consume with all of the rich experience in the Security and Compliance Center, or the API and the commandlets interface, and additionally also the report notifications and the digest mailers that we talked about. We'll switch to a demo. So here I am logged into the mailbox of my one of my demo tenants. And we talked about the digest earlier. So as you can see here, I have opened an instance of a security digest that the admin of this tenant has received. It contains consolidated information about, in this instance, various security-related reports and other information pieces we have on the Security and Compliance Center. So this is actual data that you would see if you went into the Security and Compliance Center for this tenant. All of this being is processed and actually sent to you on a regular basis. So you have this information at your fingertips. Now, as an admin, I want to obviously go check out what's going on. So I'm going to go click on this deep link here, which is going to go directly take me into the report in our UX. Well, that's loading. So it did finish loading, and you kind of see that it took you to the base report page itself in here. So we have the same report here, and as you can see, like if you're familiar with our reports interface, you'll notice that a few elements have changed. It has moved around. So we moved around a few elements to provide for a richer consumption experience, but also to enable some of the capabilities we are talking about today. Before I go into those, I just want to show a couple of features here. So obviously, you can go filter down on more data pieces for the reports if you wanted to. You can also go toggle into a graph view, which is the aggregated view versus more details view if you wanted to go look at that. One additional new feature, I guess I lost it. Okay. Sorry, a wrong click there. One additional new capability we are introducing is the ability to drill down into subcategories from a parent category of a report. So in this case, this report has multiple categories in good mail and bad mail. And I want to actually, as an admin, let's say I want to go in and drill down and go drill down just into the spam data, that spam email and data that has been going through my organization. So let's say I want to go back and I want to explore a little bit more. So I come in here, and I see that there's some interesting visual cues in here. These red icons, these did not exist before. These are totally new. So what are these? I want to go check this out. But before I do that, I want to scroll down a little bit more. I'm going to go check out some of the more base elements here. So you can see that there's related reports that's being recommended for me that I can go look at. Also on top of that, there's tiles in the middle here that kind of seem more interesting to me. There are insights here that are being shown in the context of this report. I see one insight on malware and a couple of insights on spam that are shown in here. But as an admin, let's say I'm most interested in this middle one here, where it's hard to read, but essentially it says that user accounts in my organization might potentially be compromised. So I'm going to go click on that and see what's going on. So when I come in here, it says that this is a list of users who are sending a high volume of spam to either people within inside or outside the organization. So essentially, this flyout is not only giving me a symptom of what could potentially be wrong in my organization, but it also gives me the exact details of what are the uses that it's actually calling out here and what is the activity that's going on in here. So as I go down here, I see there's also customized recommendations where I could go say that for this set of users, I could either set up multi-factor authentication, I could go reset their password, or maybe go explore a little bit more about find out how these users were compromised in the first place itself. Now I've seen this. I know that there's some proactive monitoring happening on my behalf on my tenant. I want to go look at a little bit of the other reports we have in the dashboard here and see what else is going on, if there's something else I need to be concerned about. So I come back to the dashboard here, and as you can see, the reports dashboard has a little bit of a new layout. We have the top insights at the top 4 tiles here, like that kind of consolidated across all reports. It's going to tell you all the top insights, critical insights that you need to go look at ASAP. There's also a section here that pretty much highlights the reports that have insights that you should probably go be taking a look at first. So I'm going to go see what's happening with the data loss prevention policy matches report. So this report helps you identify and protect your organization's sensitive information, and you see trends and details on policy matches and more details around what type of sensitive document this report is talking about, sensitive content, or who was the user, who was the actor at play here. So here again, I see these red icons, and in this time, I really want to go check it out and see what's going on. So let's say I click on one of those, and this kind of gives me a list of all of the insights customized to this particular report. So there's insights around what are the top sensitive types that are constantly being triggered in policy hits, who are the top users contributing to instance, and also who are the repeat users contributing to instance. Now this is interesting to me because I really want to see who's the violator that's constantly triggering instance and policy violations in the organization. So I'm going to go click on that, and as you can see, there's one or more users that's being called out here with their identity. And now we know that these users have actually repeated patterns of contributing to policy violations. I also see that there is customized actions against those, where you can either notify the user about compliance policies in your organization, or you can actually be aggressive and reset their password. I'm actually going to go click on the notify user so that I can go send a mail to this user and tell them that there is certain compliance policies that they need to be following or they need to be aware of. So as you can see, there's a templatized message, but you can also add more custom message for the users in your organizations and send it off, and it automatically opened the mail app to go send it. Now, I really want to go click on this interconnected Explorer link, but before I do that, I want to call out one more thing here. So to help you manage the workflow of the insights, we also have the capability to edit the status of the insights or add more comments in here, so you can track it for a later date or share this progress with the other co-admins in your organization, and or maybe also suppress this insight to go look at it at a later time. Now let's go see what happens when I click on this Explorer link. So as you can see, there's a particular user that's called on the top here, dgale at the domain. And what it's going to do is in the context of taking me to a much more deeper investigative experience from this static report, it took me to the Explorer view for activity with filtered down data for that particular user. So now I know that for this user, there were certain file content activities that happened on a certain date and time, like which is what triggered the policy violation in the first place. So it gives me a lot more context to go drill down into either that user's activity or that content's activity to kind of get to the root of the problem itself. Now, before I switch on to the scheduling part of the demos, what I want to show really is I talked about different interfaces that insights will surface. I'm not going to go through those in detail here, but essentially this is the security dashboard. As you can see, there's contextual insights being surfaced in here. Also, there's the new mail flow dashboard where more mail flow related insights are going to be surfaced around, either mail loop or external forwarding. Now, there's more sections, customized individual sections that go deeper into each of these. So those sections will talk through a lot more about that. I'm going to switch gears here and talk about the scheduling capabilities that I show the scheduling capabilities I talked about earlier. Before I do that, I just want to kind of show this flow in here, where if you've not used this so far, this is how you go into a report and actually create a schedule, either do a quick schedule or do a custom schedule. What this does is basically files a request on your behalf to have these reports generated on an automated basis and sent to your inbox. So once you've done that, the scheduling dashboard that I talked about under the reports navigation pane in the Security and Compliance Center, the download dashboard is going to give you options to manage and download those reports as well. So in this case, I'm going to pick one of the earlier ones that I already created, and I'm going to go download it. So you have an option to pick one or more date ranges. In this case, I have filed a few, so it's actually generated. And while that downloads, I have one open here that I'm going to show. So basically, there's these details and aggregated files that you have. But we're also adding this new PDF support, which is going to give you both a chart view and the grid view with the details that you would typically get for scheduled reports. So you can persist this and continue to use this for analytical purposes later on. So as you can see in here, I don't know if you noticed, I had these open, but the last one essentially opened up downloaded the scheduled report, and that completed that workflow. So as you can see, for the insights flow, in a single workflow, the admin was able to go either from a dashboard or from the emails into the reports in the Security and Compliance Center, identify risks, take actions and go resolve them, and then also the digest helps them to stay informed about these activities as and when they happen. So you can see that we are moving away from our reports being very static to very dynamic and being powered by this cloud intelligence itself. Fine. Okay, so moving on. A quick recap. We looked at the following demos walking backwards. We looked at smart reports. We looked at insights. We looked at the digest. Binyan showed us workflows around mail forwarding and submissions, where he went from alerts into the Security and Compliance Center and also did a lot more investigative workflows in the Explorers. We also talked about new workloads and auditing, new and existing system alerts and custom alert capabilities, Explorer data types that are available for investigation, new reports, and scheduling and download capabilities, and last but not least, insights and intelligence across the security and compliance canvas. In terms of roadmap, aligning with the themes we already talked about, we're working on richer and more customized insights across security and compliance, more out-of-the-box smart reports and alerts on data breach detection and investigation, data extension to newer services, such as within Office 365 and outside Office 365, and also bringing more data into near real-time ingestion for the auditing pipeline. Now, obviously, this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of enhancements and investments going on. Stay tuned into our regular communication and marketing channels to stay up to date about these releases as and when they happen. These are some of the related sessions that go a lot more deeper into some of the concepts we talked about as well. So we highly recommend you go visit these as well if you want to know more. We will move on to Q&A from here. Yeah, but thank you for attending, and we hope you have a great day and great rest of the week at Ignite here. We're open for questions at this point.
Hi.
Hi.
Good presentation. You never mentioned licenses here. Is this EMS, ED Premium?
It depends on the feature. For example, on the reports, for example, DLP reports will be available if you have DLP. And some of the Explorer view, like malware and phishing, they're available as part of the threat intelligence. The alerts, for now, we are only serving this new alert UI, as you saw in the demo, in the E5, which is included in the threat intelligence or advanced compliance. But we are working on bringing that experience where you can see the alert in Security and Compliance Center to a lower SKUs like E1, E3 as well, but we are still working on that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
I just had a quick question about the creation of the forwarding and redirect rules for the alerts.
Yep.
Can you specify, like, if you only want to receive alerts for like emails outside of your domain? Like, for instance, if we get a huge user base where we really don't like people forwarding outside of our university, can I set up an alert that just alerts me when someone sets up a forward and redirect? External.
So for now, I don't think we have that filter yet.
Okay.
But I believe that's something that's on our roadmap.
Okay.
And yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Short question, if you please. What is the expected latency for alerts? I mean, especially threshold ones.
Especially, pardon? Especially what?
Threshold alerts.
Threshold alerts. Okay.
What's the latency for them? I mean, if one user starts to accessing sites, mailboxes, and so on and so forth, and especially SharePoint documents massively. Do you have some estimations? Okay, so for the alerts that we are bringing into Security and the Compliance Center, we only look at the near real-time signals. So only the things that are in the near real-time pipeline will be covered in the alert experience that we just demoed. And so everything that you alert on will have a less than 5-minute latency if it's a single event alert. But if it's a threshold alert, as you said, it depends on the time range that you select. So you can say, if the occurrence is more than 10 times during 60 minutes, then I would believe the latency to be 65 minutes, because from the first activity to happen to the 10th activity to happen, it can span across 60 minutes and plus 5 minutes as the latency in the pipeline.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. If you please, as a addition to this question,
yep.
We are talking about Azure AD events, and you want to be informed for group membership change and this kind of events. As
as far as I know, there could be a really great latency here. I mean, when you expect to write these events in the event log.
Yeah, so to answer your question, this is a really great question. It's one of the gaps that we have today in our alert platform because, as I said, the alert platform today only looks for the near real-time data, which in the audit platform today, the AAD events, these administration events, are not going through the near real-time pipeline yet. So as a result of that, we're not triggering alert based on that. But once that data is in near real time, which we're actively working on and expect to have that within the next few months. So at that time, you will definitely be able to create alert based on that. Okay.
Sounds great. Thank you. That's
All right.
awesome.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Any more questions? If no,
Great. Please be sure to submit feedback.
all right.
Thanks for
Thank you,
attending.
guys.
Thank you.